I'm just trying to figure out how to open, what do you call it, like two screens on my iPad. I think I got it. 1 second. Yeah, I gotcha. Alright. Let me start with yellow ochre, some titanium white, a little black, too much black. Sorry, just collecting myself. Just trying to see where I'm at. I think it's always like an ordeal for me setting up the live and all that stuff. Yes, it does get easier, but it's just an ordeal nonetheless. Also figuring out, I want like a lens flare or like some sort of reflection indicating that there is a both on the eyeballs and as if there's a pane of glass. I've talked about this before, but sometimes you start a session and you start painting, and you know right away whether you got it or not. Now, if you can get past the hubris of me saying, I got it, today I got it, my brain is lined up with my hand and my brush. And I only know that because of how much I paint. There's oftentimes I start painting, and it's not that I don't got it, it's almost like it might be a little too aggressive, but if you just like, do you have it or not? Like if you only get those two options, I don't got it. So then I would work on maybe the hair or something, or something else. If my brush isn't lined up with my brain, and that just happens often, like you have to figure out, okay, I got it or not. Right now I just realized, oh, I got it. Like it's, my brain's matching my hand. Cool. Because I know when it's not the case. You kind of know, hey, what's going, like it's kind of, you started a session and it's just not unfolding how you anticipated, for a number of reasons, including like my hand's just not matching. Like even my mix, even like the mix I just made for this paint, for this, for these teeth and the eyes. Good, that worked. Sometimes you start something and it's just like, well, it's just not working right off the hop. And then usually it just takes time to, it doesn't mean you can't find it. Usually it takes some, like almost like, you know, for the conversation sake, like a half an hour for you to warm up, where your brain is starting to, your hands are matching, your mixes are matching. So that's kind of cool. Worth mentioning though, because sometimes it's just like, art is the process of just being human, and you kind of have to mitigate that. You need to, okay, if I'm just really, my brush isn't super accurate, or my brain's not really functioning, or my mixes aren't coming together, well then you gotta work on some of the areas that are a little more forgiving, so that you can kind of just get yourself warmed up. But right out of the gate, I really like how my hand, like the amount of paint I'm applying. That's exactly what I want. So that's just definitely something worthwhile mentioning and being aware of. Sometimes your brain's not there, or sometimes your hands aren't there. And recognizing that's pretty important. So then you move to something else in the painting that's again, like I said, more forgiving. Ooh. I had a dream, and by dream I mean like kind of half consciousness thought before sleeping a couple days ago, about I like attacking Alice in Wonderland and bringing her to the 21st century and putting her in different compromised positions and mashing her with other pop culture icons. I think because I just like the lore, Alice in Wonderland lore. I think she can hang in today's society. And then like I was thinking, I put masks on her before, and I think I even put like a Bane mask on her. I put made her infamously into Kurt Cobain. I just like her. And I'm not even that familiar with all, like, I just know the Coles Notes. But the imagery is kind of what I'm always about, and the concepts. It's not about, some things I dig really deep on because I'm just super fascinated. And I still yet to see that weird Alice in Wonderland that's like, I don't know if it's stop motion or not, but there's like a weird Alice in Wonderland that is on my to-do list for sure. Where it's like from Germany or something and it's just super gnarly. I gotta see that. In fact, I should write that down. I'll just watch it while I'm eating. It reminds me of like Return to Oz. Return to Oz. It was a super gnarly movie growing up that just like kind of took things to a whole other level and whole other direction. And my understanding, watching like some sort of like recap on it or synopsis of like how gnarly the German Alice in Wonderland is. I'm not even sure if it's German, but something like that. It's just like this foreign interpretation and really bizarre I guess the way that it was made, everything just super crazy. You gotta see it. You gotta see it. Now let's keep going, but I need to work this. This is just a dry brush now. Completely dry, like 100%. Let me just work in with everything we put in there. So it's like a really strong blend. Sometimes if your brush isn't right, you'll start pulling the paint off that you've applied. Don't do that. Don't do that. So that means your hand has to be really delicate. You're working the paint around, yes, but it's for the objective of blending it. Now let's get some brown. Claymation, I think it's like claymation. Sorry, I wasn't looking at my chat. Yeah, there's a Alice in Wonderland where I think she enters a claymation. Azul, thank you. Well, this is glorious. Appreciate you, gnomes. 88. BB girl, all part of the process. Yeah, it helps you get back into that zone. Claymation, is it called the Germans? Yeah, if you YouTube it, I think it's even probably the whole movie's on YouTube. There's just a version of Alice in Wonderland that is like, again, I haven't seen it, but it's something that some of my ideas and concepts I don't pay, like, I just like the storefront version. I don't need to deep dive into all the subjects that I paint. So I don't know, I'm not a scholar on Alice in Wonderland by any stretch. I just like I like the final product that you see on the shelf and the imagery and the symbolism that comes from that and the lore that comes from Alice in Wonderland and all the different takes over the years and decades of Alice in Wonderland. So I'm just attached to that. And then I just play with it. It's almost like the less I know about it, the better it is for me. Now, with that being said, there is an interpretation already about Alice in Wonderland that I think is from Europe. I'm pretty sure. I want to say Germany, but I might be way off on that. And it's just done where it's done with this kind of, I don't want to say straight out dark because it's still, I think, for children, but it's just kind of haunting the way that they did animate it and then the way they did I will watch it and then I'll have a better reading on it. But I just think the closest thing I can recall as a kid that I have watched and that did impact me significantly was Return to Oz. Return to Oz was a haunting child's movie that was like the next chapter to Wizard of Oz. And it was just so gnarly and like really, if you're thinking about it in terms of like children, like it was really like gripping because it was like kind of like all out. They went all out and they really tried to scare you. And even the concepts of being like putting children in like psychiatric wards, like that is Return to Oz. So that it makes you kind of question everything from the jump. And then when you look back on it as an adult, you go, oh yeah, that was super twisted. I believe there's a version of that, of Alice in Wonderland, floating out there, and I just need to make a concerted effort to consume that, because I think whoever created that is kind of, I get it, like that's my kind of stuff. So just talking out loud to kind of hold myself, yeah, I gotta watch that. I think there's something there. And I think there's really strong imagery, which I'm all about, especially for things like that, where it's even more, the imagery is almost more important than the storyline. How do you keep having the creative flow? I always see you coming up with new ideas and shit, which is pretty sick. Well, ideas are my specialty. I'll toot my own horn for a second, but I'll also put myself in check while doing that. So one thing I take great pride in are my ideas. It's kind of like where I feel I can hold a like I hold a place in contemporary art because of my ideas, more so than skill or technique, which I always try to improve on. But there's artists out there that can paint circles around me. They're just are. I've seen them. You'll see them on in museums. You'll see them even on social media. They just have a certain skill set that I'm not chasing. Why? Because it's just, forget it. That's just not what I can do. It's not what I do. I can put some effort into something similar to like, this painting style, and I might come like close sometimes, with a lot of work, a lot of energy. But what I feel I can offer, or like what I am most proud of, are my ideas and how that works. And that's kind of my favorite thing to talk about, because again, like you talk to like a skilled, classically trained painter, and how they walk you through how to paint. I can't offer that. I didn't go to school, for one, and for two, I don't, that's not where I shine. But where I do shine is like generating more and more, and they don't all land. Not all my ideas are genius. Not all the ideas are even worth painting. But I have notebooks. I have notebooks on my phone, like notes on my phone, and then I physically have notebooks, stacks of them now. And every time I get an idea, I write it down. So I'm thinking about Alice in Wonderland riding a bomb, like Doctor Strange and Doctor Strangelove, I think, the Kubrick film, and like riding the nuclear missile. And so I just write that down. Is that idea great? I don't know. It probably needs some more thought and stuff. But that was just something I did recently, within the last little bit. And what the ideas do is kind of like back to like you have to treat it like a child. You have to be very delicate with the ideas, because with the ideas, when they're personal, the only time they become stupid is if you say them out loud, for starters. So you don't say them out loud, you just write them down. You can still determine that they're stupid, but you don't need any feedback at that stage. At that stage when you're just generating ideas and concepts, it's just for you. Because the reason why you want to hold them and give them breathing room and not call them stupid or think that they're good or bad is, or get even feedback, is because they can grow into something else. So you kind of plant them like seeds. So Alice in Wonderland riding a bomb, I thought, well, the bomb could be from Super Mario Brothers. You know, the old vintage Super Mario Brothers bombs. And then I'm like, okay, but maybe we can make it like a duality painting where it's like it's split. Like the top half of the painting is Alice in Wonderland riding a bomb, and then the bottom half is like a scene from American Psycho. So now you have, okay, now American Psycho is in my mind. And how can we incorporate that American Psycho into what's happening today in pop culture, in the world, in world events? And I just run over stories and ideas over and over and over again. And I write everything down. And then you got to commit to something. And just because you commit to an idea doesn't mean it's going to, you're even going to see it all the way through. But even that level, once you start committing to an idea, more ideas will flow. So I'm really interested in this chrome now. Now that I found the chrome robot, I'm like, oh, let's make it more like Bender. And what I'm kind of interested in chrome, like the reflective gold, reflective metals that were really polished, used to be such a challenge and so time consuming. And it is not the case anymore, so that makes me excited. Meaning I feel like more confident attacking it again. You'll see a lot of, like, in the last kind of 5 years, you've seen a lot of great artists paint balloon stuff. Like, what I'm talking about, when they paint balloons, there's like reflections in the balloons. And because they're like a polished, they're almost metallic look. So now you have chrome, you have balloons, and now I'm just playing with those kinds of ideas. And, you know, there's really great starting points. Like you can like start with Batman. Always, it's kind of like when in doubt, paint Batman. But I think the real tip I can give you is you have to just start creating. And it doesn't mean you're going to get anywhere, but you might discover. Let's get some blue in there. A bunch of ideas just simply starting to paint Batman. And then you let yourself like get crazy. You let yourself on purpose, like, well, Batman doing this, Batman doing that, Batman doing this. Then you just switch out Batman for something else. Okay, who would be a good replacement? Especially with these mashup kind of concepts. You just mash up different ideas. And so that's literally endless, and then you're going to start to going, oh, that's good, that's not good. This is good, this is not good. That's a good concept, that's not good. Oh, that makes sense, that's ironic. Oh, that's funny, that's not. There's nothing there. And just let yourself go through that process over and over and over again. And then you want to be absurd. Absurdism really helps a lot, where it's just like, it makes no sense at all. It doesn't make sense even in the slightest. But I want to see what it looks like. What does that look like? Whoa, 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 whoa. So I used to do a lot of paintings where had a room. Just start with a room. I don't care if it's like a padded cell. I don't care if it's like a living room. Just start with a room and start putting subjects in that room. Guy playing guitar, a robot, an old lady, a young lady, flowers, Superman, like literally like childlike kind of a childlike approach. And so I would stuff these rooms full of imagery, just imagery, like even clip art style imagery, and just fill the room up with all this different imagery. And when you do that, you just look at it and you can see connections that you wouldn't see prior. You would be like, oh, we have this and this together. Well, then you just isolate that and paint that. So it's almost like an idea generator. You can just do that even by I save all my images. I'll have like Google Photos. I don't want to exaggerate, but actually, like over the years, like tens of thousands of stock images that I've saved on my phone, screenshots. So you can even just go through your images and start letting your mind run wild with your images. Will Smith. Well, Will Smith was Fresh Prince. He was also in that zombie movie and so forth. And Will Smith, you just let yourself like play, and you can do that while you're doing other things. It's not like you just sit there and stare at the ceiling. You can if you want. Play with your mind, and like I think that it's almost like there's even technique to it. Like you get better at like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm interested in that. But if you really don't know what to do, I even was like, consider that series where I was just painting things in rooms, like writer's block, like the cure to writer's block. I really think there's something in there, because it's something when you just start listing all these different subjects and characters and symbols, but then you put them all in a room, even crudely painted like very childlike, but enough to like, oh, I think that's an apple, and that's a ladder, and that's a chandelier. Let me do something here. But once you see all the subjects in the room, that should also then start generating either more room paintings or an isolated piece where you want to mash up something, or take a concept and take it further. Like, what happens after this happens? What happens if this character is exposed to radiation? You know, that's why it's really fun, like creating new superheroes. It's almost like a thing if I was teaching kids in high school, like create an entire new superhero. What are their strengths, weaknesses, abilities, etc. So you give yourself like tasks and things to think about and marinate over and build upon. But I just do that really organically, so that's why I was saying like that's one of my skill sets from when I was beginning, where it's like some artists just have these beautiful strokes and have nurtured their craft over decades. And I've been doing that with my ideas for decades now. And like I said, that doesn't mean they're all outstanding. They're not all the greatest ideas of all time. No, but my stream never, when you're just to answer your long-winded answer to your question, it's just the stream never shuts off, ever. Like I'm driving, me and my wife are driving on the scooter, and I'll have to pull over to the side of the road to write my ideas down. It's like that. It's that important. It's not life and death. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it's important. It's really important because the ideas are, kind of make my world go round. They lead to paintings. I don't know why I'm doing this right now. Kind of second guessing it. I just wanted, oh, I know why. This ear. But this is like too peachy. It needs almost more orange. It's fine. See what happens. And you can even, like, if you find someone you trust, or like even a young, like someone who I have nephews, like they would be great to go, okay, what happens after this? And they have this. Hi, Pumpkin. พูดภาษาไทยครับ
โอเคได้ค่ะแกซื้อมาแล้วค่ะ
ครับมีเงินที่กระเป๋า Thank you
ขอบคุณค่ะ
ครับ
พูดภาษาไทยขอบคุณค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ That ear just needed cleaning up, and so it's like the time to do that is now. Probably not, but we did it. You know what? Another, like, there's so many things you can do. Some of you must remember when you would just take a sheet and fold it into three, and then you connect the character through like you can either use three different people, but if you're just alone, like me, like just doing your own thing, you can just take a piece of paper and fold it into three. The top half is the head, the bottom half is the middle is the body, and then the bottom half are the legs. And you want to obviously come up with different concepts for each one of those elements, each one of those thirds. And super elementary process, but it's just about generating ideas. And like because I brought that up because I was thinking that'd be a good thing to do, because there's something beautiful about bringing your childhood into your work, and that seemed like a very kind of something that a lot of people did during their childhood or in school, or where you take a piece of paper and pass it around, and each student would do something different onto the paper, the drawing. But all that stuff's so good for your creative brain. And you maybe don't literally need to do it, but just think in those kinds of process. So if there was a head, it would be this head, and then the body would be this, and the legs would be that. And see if you can build a character out of there. And my whole point is that when you let yourself do that elementary preschool brain style of creating, while you're in the middle of that, you might come up with something that's actually worthwhile. You're like, oh, forget this, but this is gold. There's something in this idea. And I think we stop ourselves from getting to that point far too often. So like the rudimentary activities or lessons, we don't dive in because we think that's stupid or a waste of time. And like on one hand, I can probably agree with you, but what will happen is when you're doing it, something else happens. Something else comes into your brain because you let yourself kind of get not just silly, but you put some focus on something, try to make the best out of it. It is what it is. It's probably nothing. There's nothing there, but it did generate an idea. This painting alone has generated a ton of things that I've been mulling over. Like I said, like the balloons, the chrome, the metal, like wearing a mask. Then I called it Alice. What? No, Woman with the Iron Mask, because there's like there's a movie and an old book, Man with the Iron Mask. I think, didn't Leonardo DiCaprio play the Man with the Iron Mask? Pretty sure. I do love the concepts of masks. I've painted masks for years now, like different masks. Everything from masks that you literally like hang on the wall, like tribal art, to masks that you wear, to like how people are different when you put on a mask. And you're hidden, and you can create like a persona that you really want. Like on Halloween, people change when you don't know who they are. And so it's just like a self-reflecting thing. Like, who are you trying to be when you wear a mask? You're more confident. You're more prone to behaving differently. Like looking into all that psychological stuff is fun. Then I always like the concept of like, you wear a mask so long it becomes part of you. Like you don't even distinguish anymore yourself from the mask. So then when you want to change, you wear a different mask. So you're putting masks on top of masks. And that stuff gets me really excited. Masks on masks on masks. I think there's a lot there. There's something super crazy. Also, the world doesn't know who you are, or you don't want them to know who you are. And it's not even just like running from yourself. It's like creating this weird illusion. Not even, I won't even go so far, built on lies, built on like these coping mechanisms, or almost like a strategy. People like me best when I behave like this, so I'm going to keep doing that. That's like more people pleasing. But then you just become accustomed to behaving like that. And like losing your identity. And when you take off the mask, you don't even know like what's looking at you. You've been wearing the mask too long. You don't even know who you are. But you do know who you are when you wear the mask. You know exactly who you are. So you put the mask back on. And then you want to give it some, like, tweak it a little bit. So you put on like some accessories. The new you is just a number of layered different masks. The new you, new version of you. I'm also really interested in AI and how it's affecting everything, helping everything, destroying everything, all of it. Like all the best points, all the worst points, all the lies, all the destruction, all the beauty. just fascinating because we're in that time where it's just like it's all right now. All the hype, the overhype. So I think it's like this: we're living in this world where we're witnessing the combat, the literally the androidification. You know, the cyborgs are going to be, and it won't be what we think, right? So if you have like this thing in your mind, it'll never be like that. You're probably right, but it's going to be some sort of that, and some of it's exactly what we thought. You know, it's crazy how like the old sci-fi movies really nailed some of the predictions, and some of those things are way off, not even in the same reality. All that stuff just generates ideas. Just generates ideas for me. How can you take classical things and mash them with the like take classical philosophies and imagery and mash them into the future or today? Okay, let me think here. I need to think. Kind of like this brown. Let's get one. One way of thinking about painting is you're putting things in their place, and they're almost like placeholders. So they don't necessarily, you don't need to have the pressure of like, oh, it has to, every time you paint a certain area of the painting, you're finishing it. No, you're getting it closer and closer and closer to where it needs to go. Through the method of adding and subtracting, yes, but just getting things closer and closer and closer. And by refining, you can start whittling it down, like very much like sculpting or whittling, like, you know, like a sculptor with wood. Starts like they start with big chunks. They start with big chunks and big aggressive moves to start whittling down the subject. And I believe in that process even on a smaller scale. I think they do too, to be honest. So it's like you're still, it's the same idea, even though in the beginning it's clear, everyone knows what you're doing, taking off major chunks of from the wood so that you're going to get closer to the shape and the form. Then that concept doesn't leave. You just do it on a much smaller scale, which they do too. You know, they go from a chainsaw. You see those like those sculptors that use a chainsaw, and then they start ending up with like, you know, a smaller saw, and then a hand saw, and then sandpaper. You know what I mean? They get really fine. Same idea here too. You want to whittle down, and so when you put, in order to whittle down, like, you have to get the things in the right place. And just to finish this thought, you have to paint to paint. I haven't said that yet today, but that's my, you gotta paint to paint. Now let me see here. I guess it is a little bit. Sometimes you need to leave things too, like, you know, step away from it. That's why you always see the artists, like especially in movies, they put a brush stroke and then walk 5 feet backwards and then look at it. There's some truth in that you just need a different perspective on things. So you lay out.
หิวข้าวไหมคะกินข้าว
Um,
ไหม
yeah,
กินตอนนี้ไหม
okay. It's dinner time. Breakfast, rather. Don't just assume you're wrong or you made a mistake or it's not right. Get those placeholders in there, the shapes, like the major forms. Whittle it down, like, okay, we're getting closer here, not further away. That's the only objective. A little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. Yes, you'll make mistakes, you gotta fix it. Oh, that's not right. Okay, fix that up. Fine. But back to your logic, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. That's how you start seeing improvements too in your work. You're like, oh, I can do that again. I can do that better. You'll go through a phase where you're like, I'm wrecking it. Just go get through that. There's no solution. You just gotta like figure it out by wrecking it, trying to fix it, not being able to fix it, but you don't stop painting. It's just part of the process. But if you have the right kind of mindset and pacing, it's hard to wreck it. Like I might make this line a little off, we can fix it. But I'm not using this gigantic brush and changing everything in one swoop. So that's what I mean by your mind and your mindset. There's not a lot of room for like major errors. Your delicate little hands. Let your delicate little hands help you. Delicate little hands are good for painting, not really the piano or guitar, as I learned in my life. The delicate little hands are good for little strokes, little nuances. It's kind of like this skin reflection here. Why not? Let's see if that works. Here I was just trying to figure out if there's actually like yellow in this area. It seems kind of bright too. Melody tab. Thank you. You like it?
Yep.
I have to get to sleep now. Henry, great to see you. BB girl, androidification. Yeah. Obey. Did metamorphosis soul, but I got Prince. Crunchy Hokage. Very good. It sounds like at the end of the day you're not using comparison to. I do use comparison for other people's art. That would I use people as like a north star. Like, imagine I could paint like that. Imagine I could do that. Well, let me try. And like learn how other painters. You can learn a lot from them and the techniques and stuff that all really comes to. And when I say I use comparison, it's like, oh, mine doesn't look like that. You have to be able to call it out, right? Like, mine's not, theirs is better. Okay, so what do I got to do to make mine better? I think comparison helps. You don't need to like even vocalize it. It's just internally. Like, okay, they do that way better. So you either like, you use that as fuel to like, okay, I need to improve. And then you take it upon yourself to figure out how do you actually improve. So I do compare, but then there's certain styles in art, there's all kinds of things that like, hey, they do something really magical, really beautiful, and I'm not even gonna attempt to do what they do. It's not even in kind of what I'm interested in. Even if that's an excuse, but there's some truth to it. Like, yeah, no, I don't like painting landscapes, for example. I really don't. Like, I really don't want to paint blades of grass. I don't enjoy that. I don't even want to get good at it. But if I had to paint blades of grass, I would look at theirs and be like, okay, is mine as good as theirs? No. Okay, so how do I improve my blades of grass? How do I improve my rolling hills? Even structures. There's some people that are really great at structures. There's a great painter that I look up to. I think his name's Jeremy Geddes. He paints these surreal worlds and landscapes, and he's just so meticulous with his buildings. I might be butchering his name, but you're just left in awe with his work. He's a magician. But if I were to paint a building, I would look at his work and like, it's not just, was mine as good as his? That's not what but it's just like, okay, where is he like really soaring? Where is he really? So then it gives you some sort of like foundation of like, okay, we all know his work is fantastic. It's obvious, you just look at it. So how can I improve mine? You don't have to go, I'm going in the direction of, again, I think his name's Jeremy Geddes. I think you'll find him. He's pretty, from what I see, pretty well known, established. But he's a great example of, like, I think is a phenomenal painter. And if I were painting buildings and even human form, you'd look at his work and be like, hey, we've got a long way to go. That's fine. It's not like I'm painting like his paintings, but I look at his like skill level, what levels he's reaching and accomplishing. So I think comparison is good. Where I don't compare is necessarily his ideas, because that's kind of where I like to put my own focus and really It's not about the skill as much as it's the idea, and then can I execute that idea? How well can I execute my idea in my head and bring it to life? So now I've spent years trying to like become a better painter so that my ideas can be stronger on the panels, on the canvas. But I think it's good to compare, especially internally. Oh, I'm not as good. I don't mean it like that. I mean, it's like, okay, this is what is good. Well, now, where are you compared to that? Well, this, you can, then you start going, well, this is good. This area is okay. This needs to be worked on. That's it. That's how I would use. And then you just get better and better and better over time. It's a long game. It is the long game. But I think why it's, you know, I'll wrap it up with this. When you're constantly playing with your own ideas and concepts and fun imagery and imagery that really you can build stories around, it gives you the fuel to get also better at painting, because you're like, okay, I want to see this idea come to life and I want to do it as best as I can. And I really want to give life to this idea and this concept. So I'm willing to become a better painter in order to bring this idea that I have closer to life and really make it clear to the observer what I'm trying to accomplish, or at least get an understanding of. So the better I can become, the better painter I am, the better my ideas have a chance at landing. So I'm not just becoming a better painter for the sake of becoming a better painter. I want my ideas to be rock solid. I want my ideas to be as best as I can present them as best as I can. And in order to do that, I got to learn how to paint. I got to learn how to like put things together. Everything from the masters to like contemporary artists. Like how can I bring this idea to life as best as I can? And that simple philosophy has carried me for decades now. Well, years. Because I just want my ideas to like be as strong as possible. That's why you see me like typically not painting just like simple subject matter. It's a concept. It's an idea. Again, if you isolate this one image, yeah, who can, like it's. I'm not saying it's deep, but I certainly want to get better at painting chrome. You know, I want the chrome to be as tight as possible, because then it makes my image stronger. If the chrome is just half baked, you're like, oh, that's funny, haha, cool concept, man. But if I can make the chrome tight, well, then now we're playing in a different game, because it's like, okay, the chrome is really indicating that I'm keeping the cartoon on purpose. Not that I don't want to paint her, that I'm choosing not to. You know, but if I can't land the chrome, then it hurts my concept. And I've painted chrome before, and it was really tedious, and this time around it's actually pretty, I wouldn't call it a walk in the park, but it's just, I have more confidence going into it. We'll see if I pull it off, but I certainly have more confidence going in compared to the last time I had to paint like reflections and balloons and stuff. All right, now I'm out. See you, BB girl. See you guys. Until next time.